Hello and welcome. This is Eagle Eye 621, and what you see behind me is the closest thing you can get to a death laser in vanilla Minecraft, and this is a solid base defense. Now, typically what you see people do is they have some rows of dispensers, and they set them off when the player comes by, something like this. And this is all well and good, but you can see there's an obvious problem. If you just step to the side of it, then you have nothing to fear from all of those dispensers, and these regular arrows do regular damage, which is to say, not a heck of a lot. But what if we use the game to our advantage a little bit and set up kind of a lava pillbox? So let's see what happens as we approach this in survival. And oh yeah, even when you try and move to the side, it follows you. And if you can tell from the death screen or from what's going on in the background, what we have is a lot of arrow shooting skeletons, although you can use some other mobs that shoot arrows to track the player. And if I do a little bit of a sidestep while I get closer, you can see that this is pretty much like a death laser. And trying to approach it to do damage is really not that easy. Of course, nothing in this game is completely impenetrable by players, but this is pretty much as close as you can get. And then there's also another version of this. If you want to be a little more sneaky, they can tell this is obviously something, but you can also build this directly into the terrain. And this looks like a natural pocket where there might be just some lava, but of course, now that I've called some attention to it, I should be far enough away from that. You know that something interesting is going to happen when I come on this side, and we don't have as many in there, but if you can see from this, you'll know that we've given them some extra special bows, so you can upgrade what they're shooting at you to do a lot more damage. And I'll have some links in the iCards to this. And just to give you some idea about what this looks like, even if we grab some of our perfect armor, to do that, let's grab this. And I will, of course, have some links to these videos as well. How to get the perfect armor, how to make the perfect weapons. Let's see what's going on here. I drop in, and you can tell that with perfect armor, it doesn't do all that much damage because, again, we're talking about perfect armor, but the players in your world are not going to have this, and it's super annoying, even with this, to try and get in and do something about it. And it does damage your armor pretty fast from what was perfect and untouched. And if you have more than one of these as well, so you set them up in a little bit of a way, then you can get some crossfire going on. And you will die eventually if you don't turn around and run. So again, nothing is foolproof in this game, especially if they have the right armor. But this is definitely something to consider, which is going to be a heck of a lot more effective than just some dispensers followed by an observer clock. And they do have a range. As I said, if you want a little bit more range, there are other mobs that have longer ranges using the crossbow, and you can collect those as well. Now let me show you how to set all of this up, but as I do that, let me ask you to please take a moment to make sure that you are still subscribed and hit that notification bell, as well as comment below whether or not you like these kind of videos and what's going on. Now, the first thing that you're going to need is the setup, and typically the way you're going to want to do this is using these upgrades for a maximum skelly spawner. And in the interest of not wasting too much of your time, I'm going to link you to my maximum efficiency skeleton spawner. And we are indeed in that world. If we scroll down and look around, and here it is. And this makes sure that you do get the maximum amount of spawns from a spawner. And that means that you do not put the blocks on top as you normally do. Instead, for this particular design, what you do is you put a tripwire so that if a skeleton were to spawn on top, it would get knocked with an arrow off. And you set this up, and then you want to take the output from this spawner, and you're going to take it on a bit of a ride. And let's show you how this would look as these come down. You can see this one is already prepared, and off they go. But if we're going to do this to set it up like normal, let's just break in through here and block this off so we're not bothered, and pretend that the mobs are going to fall down on this block. Now you're going to cut a path to wherever it is that you want to go. When you get to the end of the water stream, you can put a sign right here on the bottom, and then right here above that water, and slap another water bucket down. And this is how you are going to travel out as far as you would like. And again, we're going to do the same thing. So sign here where it stops, sign back and above with another bucket of water. And again, we continue on. Now, you're going to want to give the skeletons a helmet of some kind because you don't want them to despawn, and you're not going to want to waste all your name tags. So what I like to do is to find a place right here in the middle. We're going to punch a hole out on either side. This is what our tripwire hooks are for. Not there, right there. And then we can hook those up. And then directly next to that, you will put your dropper. You could put it just like this. And then for your helmet, I would recommend the pumpkins. And that's because these carved pumpkins are stackable. So you don't need to worry about hooking up some chests and hoppers. And then as they pass, they get an item spit at them, and they will hopefully put it on their heads. Not all of them will, but enough so that you can get it. You can also use this same idea to hand them the bows at this time, because you do want them to have a slightly more powerful shot. And then once you are below wherever it is you're trying to get, we're going to switch and put some ice blocks here instead, and then block this off completely with the signs, and then put one piece of soul sand here, and you dig all the way up to the top. Now if you're in survival, you're going to want to do this more carefully than I am, because you don't want lava or gravel to fall on your head. And you also want to make sure that you've either measured it or you're somewhere close, that you're going to pop up where you want this thing to be. This is an interesting spot. Now, if you have any caves or holes along the way, you just need to fill those in so that we don't get any water leaking anywhere. And then fill this all up with source blocks. And this will start to push you all the way up once you do have all of these as source blocks. And there's a bunch of different ways to do this. You can do this with ice, you can use kelp, you can use whatever you want. But that way the skeletons will get into this water stream and be pushed all the way as they are over on this side. Now there's a couple of different things you can do here, and I left this as an example on purpose. You don't want the water to stop right there because you'll have some issues with them bouncing. So you either want to go up a couple of extra blocks or go up all the way like this and then drop them from the top into your defensive turret so that they fall exactly where you want them to. And let's grab some skeleton eggs just to show that real quick. And then they come in here. Be sure to protect them from the sun, and they will drop directly into place as you would like. And then these temporary blocks right here are just to make sure that you don't get shot while setting this up. Now, what does your setup actually look like? And for that, we're going to need the contents from our other chest, which is right over here. And there's a couple of ways to do this, but I like this way. These bows are just in case you want to throw them some extra stuff. You don't have to have flame on it. This is just from my perfect bow chest. You just want to put a power 5 on it, and then either a punch 1 or a punch 2, depending on how annoying you want them to be. You're going to need a bucket of lava. The carved pumpkins are for the skeletons that are already there. A ladder is if you want to have more than 24 in one block, because this will block your entity cramming. Then we're going to need a bunch of slabs. I like to use a stair and a couple of smooth stone, although you can use anything that you would like. This is a full block, and this is to make it directional. And the reason you want to do that is to make sure wherever you're pointing this that you don't get shot at. So if we find a nice spot over here by where the cows are, clear a little bit of an area, and you're going to decide exactly where you want them to be standing. You can start with your stairs, and you want to put your ladder here, which is at their feet, and then you're going to set up just a very quick roof, which is 2 blocks, and that's really all there is to it in terms of what you want them to have. Now, in terms of the lava part, you're going to want to make a plus sign like this, and then you can punch out some of these spaces just to prevent the lava from spreading, although I'll show you where you may want to actually increase that in a moment. And inside here is where you are dropping all of your skeletons, and you can see they're perfectly happy to be here. And because that ladder is there right by their feet, you can put in here as many as you would like. And just so you understand what was happening before, I can try not to die as I go into survival mode for a moment and approach them. And you can see that we're going to have a stream of arrows coming at us. Use the cows for defense to get out of the way. That is the laser minus the fire. And then to make that fire, just put this lava right there on top. And then the lava will spread. And it does a couple of things. It prevents you from seeing exactly what's in there. But also, importantly, in terms of this lava death ray, or a laser death ray, what this does is it lights the arrows on fire that they're shooting at you. And now it looks like a laser of death. And let's back way up. Now, if you are using this as part of your base defense, then let's get rid of the lava for a second right here. You're going to want to make sure that the skeletons won't be shooting in your direction. That's what the extra stone is for, so that you can use this to block off their line of sight in whichever ways that you're looking for. Or if you're leaving this in the center just to irritate your friends, then you want to leave it open completely so that it has as big of a range as possible. Now, in terms of how to make this harder to defend against, what you're going to want to do is actually dig, because you don't want them coming up from the bottom, which is one of the techniques that they can use to try and get this, so that there's lava coming from underneath. But also, if we forget about the digging part and assume that they're not going to be coming from under, or that you've handled that by putting lava or some other traps underneath, you also may want to just spread out on this level, and that's to make sure that the players can't get close enough to try and reach an attack and mine on the blocks to try and fill that area with lava themselves. And now when you put this lava down, it will spread along the bottom, just to make it that much more difficult to get close enough to stop them from shooting at you. It takes the lava a little bit longer to spread in the overworld, but you can see that the more that lava spreads, the harder it is for you to get in there and attack with a sword. You can still try and shoot at it, but without seeing exactly where they are, it's a much harder shot to make. And of course, if you get too close to make an easier shot, they will start shooting back at you. Now, credit where credit is due. Let me give a shout out to Zoomstrike Gaming, whose video inspired this. He has a flying version of this, so you can send this off like a missile towards your enemy's base, if that's something you're interested in doing. If you found this video helpful, I would appreciate a like. If you found it interesting, maybe even tell one of your friends or one of your favorite Minecraft YouTubers to see this in their world. And for more videos like this, as always, do be sure to subscribe and hit that notification. Thanks for stopping by.